I'm transfixed, unable to tear my gaze away. Her body lies cold and rigid, dressed in the black gown she reserved for special occasions. Memories surge unbidden, relentless in their clarity, her laughter filling the air, the warmth that permeated our home when she was there, the lingering scent of her perfume that stayed long after she'd left her room. The scarlet roses on the kitchen windowsill, always fresh, always a piece of her, come to mind vividly. Even in death, she exudes an elegance, a serene grace that feels untouched by the finality of it all. A warm hand settles on my shoulder, her father. His face is a stoic mask, etched with the weariness of a man who's endured too much, who's learned to bury his sorrow deep within. "Come on," he murmurs, his voice a quiet rumble. "Let her rest now. My eyes sting, a burning ache I can't suppress." I sniffle, wiping them with my jacket sleeve, and turn to follow him outside. The air bites with a crisp chill, a breeze slicing through the gathered crowd in the yard, their condolences a distant hum I can't process. I don't respond, don't even acknowledge them, my focus fixed on the ground as I walk to the truck. "Are you going to be okay to drive?" he asks, concern flickering in his tone. "Yeah," I reply, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I reach out to shake his hand, but he pulls me into a firm embrace instead. I don't resist. My body shakes, my throat tightens, and when we part, his eyes are rimmed with red, mirroring my own. "You're a good man," he says, his voice thick with emotion. I nod, words failing me, afraid I'll unravel if I try to speak. I climb into the truck, my hands gripping the steering wheel like a lifeline to reality. I take a deep breath, letting it expand in my chest, grounding me. The key turns, the engine sputters, then growls to life, and I pull away from the house. The road snakes through the dense forest of my hometown, tires humming against the pavement, the occasional passing car breaking the stillness. The highway narrows into a single lane, cutting through the trees like a jagged wound in the earth. I ease off the gas as I descend a hill, crossing a small bridge over a creek below. On the other side, movement catches my eye. A large brown shape lifts its head. I slow the truck, my gaze locking onto a bull moose at the road's edge. Its antlers are rugged, streaked with red where the velvet has peeled away, and it stares at me, unmoving. The weight of its gaze feels heavy, following me as I drive on, lingering in my mind all the way home. When I arrive, the house feels lifeless, the air stagnant and the space hollowed out by her absence. I shut the door, my eyes drifting over the silent rooms. The colors seem faded, drained of vibrancy, except for the scarlet roses on the kitchen windowsill, the last thing she tended to, still clinging to life. I pick up the watering can and pour just enough to dampen the soil, my fingers brushing the soft petals. A sigh escapes me, heavy with the weight of loss. The fridge is nearly bare, holding only 3 eggs, a bit of butter, and a lone slice of cheese. I make do, scrambling the eggs and toasting some bread, eating in front of the TV. I flip through channels until I land on a cartoon, its bright colors and absurd humor a stark contrast to my mood. It doesn't make me laugh, but it offers a fleeting distraction. I drift off to the sound of static, waking later with a stiff neck from the awkward angle. The room is dark, lit only by the TV's faint glow, and I wipe dry drool from my cheek, glancing at the clock to 3 a.m. With a weary sigh, I push myself off the couch, stretching my arms. I gather my plate and fork, setting them on the counter for tomorrow. As I reach to turn off the kitchen light, the roses catch my eye, they're wilting, the petals drooping, edges curling inward and browning. They weren't like this earlier. Frowning, I wonder if I overwatered them or if they're simply fading like everything else. I decide to deal with them later, flicking off the lights and heading to bed. The mattress feels too cold, the empty space beside me a painful void. I roll onto my side, squeezing my eyes shut, willing sleep to come. It does, quickly. A knock yanks me from sleep. Morning light spills through a gap in the curtains, bathing the room in a warm glow. Another knock sounds, and I throw on a shirt, stumbling to the door while rubbing my eyes. "Coming!" I call, my voice rough with sleep. I open the door to find Manny and Jude waiting, familiar faces offering a small comfort. "Hey, bro," Manny says, his tone gentle. "How you holding up?" "Hey, guys," I reply, stifling a yawn. "I'm okay." "What time is it?" 11:15, Jude answers, raising an eyebrow. "You just getting up?" I glance at the clock. Realizing he's right, I overslept. "Yeah." I step aside. "Come in. Coffee?" I set out 3 mugs, the warmth of the drink slowly waking me. We keep the conversation light, but Manny soon shifts the tone. "We were thinking you could use a break from everything," he says carefully. I look at him, sensing what's coming. "A change of scenery," Jude adds. "Get away for a bit. Clear your head." I know where this is headed. "Camping," I say, preempting them. Jude nods, a grin spreading across his face. "Just a few days. The outpost I fixed up last summer." I stare into my coffee, the steam rising in lazy curls. I haven't left the house since the funeral, haven't wanted to. But sitting here, the silence feels oppressive, the walls closing in. Maybe a break wouldn't be the worst idea. "Maybe," I concede, my voice quiet. Jude's grin widens. "Don't overthink it." They stand, grabbing their coats. "See you around," Manny says, and they leave. The house falls silent again, the emptiness more pronounced. I sip the last of my coffee, my gaze drifting to the roses on the windowsill. The petals look duller now, curling inward like they're retreating. I run my fingers along a stem absent-mindedly, and a sharp prick makes me flinch. A bead of blood wells up on my fingertip. I mutter a curse, pressing my thumb over the tiny wound. As I rinse it under the sink, a cold breeze creeps up my spine, making me shiver. I glance over my shoulder, the front door is cracked open. I could have sworn I closed it, but maybe the latch was stiff from the cold and didn't catch. I dry my hands and move to shut it, the brisk air sweeping through the room, crisp and invigorating. It fills my lungs, stirring a restless urge. I think back to Manny and Jude's suggestion. The house feels too quiet, too stifling. I can't stay cooped up all day. I pull on my boots and a winter coat, heading to the truck. The engine grumbles to life, struggling against the chill. I wait, hands on the wheel, letting the heater dispel the stale air. When it's warm enough, I pull out of the driveway, the snow crunching under the tires. The sky is a pale, washed-out blue, the kind that makes winter feel infinite. Bare trees flash by, their branches reaching upward like skeletal hands. The drive is uneventful. I stop at the grocery store, grabbing essential eggs, bread, coffee, some canned goods. I linger by the butcher longer than necessary, staring at the fresh cuts without really seeing them, lost in thought. The cashier scans my items silently, offering a polite nod as I pay. On the way back, I keep my focus on the road, but my mind wanders. I pass the turnoff to the cemetery, and for a moment, I consider stopping, but I keep driving. The road curves ahead, a bend I know too well. My knuckles whiten as I grip the wheel. This is where it happened. The guardrail is still dented, the metal twisted from the impact, a scar softened by snow piled along the edges. I see it all in my mind, the flashing lights, shattered glass, the dark stain on the pavement before the snow covered it. I force my eyes forward, my throat tightening, and the truck carries me past the place where my life broke apart. When I get home, I feel weighed down, as if carrying an invisible burden. I put the groceries away on autopilot, my movements mechanical. Passing the kitchen window, I glance at the roses, they're fading fast, their vibrancy leaching away. My finger throbs at the sight, a lingering reminder of the prick. Shaking my head, I hang up my coat and settle in, hoping the silence will feel normal again. As the sun dips below the trees, shadows stretch long and thin across the snow, seeping like ink across a page. The dim light through the window casts jagged shapes on the walls, shifting as the wind rattles the bare branches outside. The house creaks softly, sounds I once ignored but now seem amplified in the stillness. I sit on the couch, half watching the evening news, my hand resting on my knee. The spot on my finger aches, a dull, nagging pain. I rub it absent-mindedly, but each touch sends a small jolt up my arm. Annoyed, I examine it closer. The skin around the prick is red, slightly swollen, a thin scab forming. It's just a scratch. Nothing serious, but the persistent sting refuses to fade. With a sigh, I head to the kitchen, flicking on the light. The roses look worse, their petals curling inward like clenched fists, a stark contrast to their earlier vitality. I frown, wondering if I overwatered them, or if they were already doomed. The faucet groans as I turn it on, pipes rattling before cold water flows. I rinse my hand, the scab darkening under the stream. The sting eases briefly, only to return as I dry off. I glance at the clock, nearly 10. The day drags, the quiet growing heavier at night, pressing in around me. I consider calling Manny or Jude. But what would I say? That I'm restless? That the house feels too empty, even though I lived here alone before her? That her favorite flowers are withering too quickly? I dismiss the thought and return to the living room, flipping through channels until I find a sitcom with a laugh track, its artificial cheer clashing with the silence. I try to focus, but my finger keeps throbbing. I run my thumb over the sore spot, feeling the rough skin, small but insistent. Eventually, exhaustion pulls me under. The clock reads midnight as I turn off the TV and stretch, rolling my shoulders to ease the stiffness. The house groans again, the familiar settling of an old structure. I head down the hall, turning off lights as I go. The bedroom is cold, and as I slip under the blankets, I reach instinctively for the other side of the bed, empty, frigid. I roll onto my side, squeezing my eyes shut, trying to block out the ache. Sleep comes swiftly, but the last thing I feel is the pulsing sting in my fingertip. Darkness envelops me, infinite and dense, stretching in all directions. At first, there's only silence, a void so profound it devours every thought, every breath. Then a voice, soft and familiar, a faint whisper, "Come find me." I turn, but there's nothing to see. "Please," it pleads again, closer now. I take a step forward, my feet silent on a ground that's neither solid nor soft, just present. I walk, though I don't feel the motion, like I'm floating through the emptiness. Shapes emerge from the void shadows, stretching into thin, skeletal trunks. A forest takes form around me, tall pines with blackened, twisted bark reaching into a starless sky. Snow blankets the ground, smooth and unbroken like a sheet of glass. I should feel cold, but I don't. I feel nothing, not the wind, not the bite of winter, not even my own body. It's as if I'm not fully here, a ghost in this desolate place. Over here, her voice whispers through the trees, pulling me deeper. I quicken my pace, weaving through the pines, their trunks so close they seem to close in around me. The snow beneath me should crunch, should yield under my weight. But it doesn't. I leave no footprints. The air is still. No wind, no rustling, just an oppressive silence. Yet the trees shift when I'm not looking, their gaps stretching and narrowing, the forest itself seeming to breathe and reshape. "Please, I need you," her voice calls, just ahead, beyond two ancient trees, their bark split and clawed as if something tore into them. A figure flickers between the trunks, always just out of reach. I chase it, but each time I draw near, it slips away, swallowed by the shifting shadows. The branches above hang lower now, some bare and splintered like broken bones, others draped in something dark and heavy, swaying without wind. I keep following the voice, the trees thinning until they abruptly end. I step into a vast open field, an endless expanse of white snow beneath a sky so black it feels alive, pressing down, suffocating. No stars, no moon, just a writhing void above. A distant sound grows a dull, rhythmic pounding, like hooves on frozen ground. My breath quickens. The sound nears, and a massive shape charges from the darkness of bull moose. Its hollow eyes, pits of shadow, jagged antlers dripping with something dark and wet. Its breath rasps in smoky clouds, and it gallops straight for me. "I need you!" her voice screams, now a desperate howl. I try to run, but my legs won't move. The moose barrels closer, its hooves thundering, its twisted form growing until it consumes my vision and I wake, gasping, heart slamming against my ribs. The room is dark, the air still, but I feel a lingering presence, as if something was just here, watching from the edges of my mind. I sit up, breath ragged, running a hand through my hair. The ache in my finger flares, a sharp sting that makes me grimace. The house is unnervingly silent. I peer through the hall into the kitchen. The roses on the windowsill are dead, their petals shriveled and lifeless, a stark contrast to the vibrant blooms they once were. The morning sun filters through the bedroom window, casting golden rays across the blankets. I blink against the harsh light, groggy and disoriented, my heart still racing from the dream that clings to me like a shadow, that haunting dream. I sit up, dragging my hands over my face, the images refusing to fade. The endless forest, her voice echoing through the trees, the oppressive sky closing in like a living entity, and the moose charging out of the darkness, its hollow eyes fixed on me. I exhale sharply, trying to dispel the lingering dread. It's just a dreamstress, exhaustion, grief playing tricks on my mind. It doesn't mean anything. My gaze drifts to the roses on the windowsill, their petals now dry and brittle, a stark contrast to their vibrant life just days ago. I frown, pushing the thought aside. I need to get out of here. I grab my phone, scroll through my contacts, and tap Jude's name. It rings only twice before he answers. Yo, what's up? Hey, I've been thinking about the trip, I say, my voice still rough from sleep. Yeah? I'm in. There's a brief pause, then I can hear the grin in his voice. Hell yeah, man. That's what I like to hear. Manny's gonna be pumped. We make the plan leaving Friday morning, back by Tuesday. A short escape, just a few days to clear my head. I try not to dwell on how desperately I need it. The truck hums beneath us as we navigate the snow-covered road, the snowmobiles secured behind us. Outside, the forest is a blend of white and dark green, the morning sun glinting off the snow making it sparkle. Jude drives, humming to a tune on the radio, while Manny sits up front, scrolling through his phone. I'm in the back, staring out at the endless trees, my mind still tangled in the dream. The Moosey's empty eyes, the unsettling presence behind them, watching me. It doesn't make sense, and I shake my head to clear the thought. Man, I can't wait to get out there, Jude says, pulling me back to the present. Haven't been to the outpost since fall. It'll be great to have the place to ourselves. Yeah, I murmur, my voice distant. Manny glances back at me. You okay, bro? I force a nod. Yeah, just lost in thought. Jude smirks. Well, don't think too hard, you might strain something. I manage a small laugh, but my thoughts keep drifting. The drive to the boat launch takes just over an hour. We unload the sleds, secure the last of our gear, and double-check our supplies. The lake stretches out before us, a frozen expanse cutting through the landscape, the tree line rising dark and endless beyond it. Jude pulls on his gloves and grins. Ready to roll? I nod, fastening my helmet. The engines roar to life, shattering the silence. We speed across the ice, the sleds kicking up clouds of powder behind us. The journey is long, taking us deep into the wilderness, far from any roads or towns. The trail winds through dense woods, over frozen streams, across open stretches of snow-dusted lakes. The cold bites at my skin, but I barely notice. I focus on the ride. Hours pass, the sun sinking lower, casting long shadows through the trees. My hands are numb by the time the outpost comes into view, nestled against the edge of a frozen bay. The cottage is in good condition. As Jude promised Sada's sturdy log cabin, its roof blanketed with snow. No footprints, no signs of disturbance, just pristine wilderness. We park the sleds and stretch our aching muscles. Jude unlocks the door, and a wave of cold, stale air greets us. Home sweet home, he mutters, stepping inside. Manny gets to work starting the fire, stacking logs in the old wood stove, while I drop my gear near the door, taking in the space. It's modest, but solid, with wood-paneled walls, a few bunks, a table, and chairs. A couple of faded hunting photos are tacked up near the fireplace. The fire crackles to life, filling the room with warmth and the scent of wood smoke. I rub my hands together, really trying to relax. But the image of the moose lingers, lurking in the back of my mind, watching. The fire pops, casting flickering shadows across the room. We've settled in for the night, each of us with a cold beer in hand. The cabin feels alive now, filled with the sound of laughter and conversation. The heavy wilderness outside kept at bay by the warmth and camaraderie. Jude pulls a deck of cards from his bag, grinning. All right, who's ready to lose? Manny raises an eyebrow, taking a sip of beer. I'll let you win tonight, just so you don't cry about it later, he teases. We dive into a game of poker, the cards slapping against the wooden table. It's lighthearted, a simple distraction with low stakes, mostly bragging rights. As the night wears on, we drink more, slipping into easy banter. The outside world stress, grief fades for a while, and it almost feels normal again. I don't mention the moose or the nightmare. I don't think they notice the unease that flickers through me whenever the wind howls against the windows or the shadows shift when I zone out. I don't want to admit it, but I still feel off. The night passes uneventfully. We finish the beer, toss a few more logs on the fire, and settle into a deep quiet. Even the wind outside softens to a murmur. It's peaceful. The kind of calm I didn't think I could still feel. I lie on the couch, legs stretched out, and finally close my eyes. I wake to the gentle hum of morning, the sun filtering through the windows. For a moment, I forget the dark feeling that clung to me, the house, the roses, the dream. For a moment, it's just me, the warmth of the cabin, and the faint smell of wood smoke. Morning, sleepyhead. Manny's voice cuts through the haze as he steps into the room. We're heading to the lake to fish. You coming? I stretch, feeling the stiffness in my body. The three of us gear up, pulling on winter layers. The snow glows in the morning light, the sky a pale blue stretching endlessly above. We grab our supplies and head to the snowmobiles, the cold nipping at exposed skin as we race across the frozen lake. The ice is thick. The world's silent, except for the growl of our engines and the crunch of snow beneath the sleds. It's beautiful, but the silence feels oppressive. The vast emptiness around us, almost deafening. We stop at a good spot, unloading the equipment and setting up. Manny drills holes in the ice, while Jude prepares the rods. I stand off to the side, gazing across the ice. It's a wide expanse, but something about it feels strange, though I can't place why. I'm chastising myself when a gust of wind hits my face, and then I hear it. A whisper, faint, calling from somewhere far across the lake. It's too soft to make out, and for a moment, I think it's just the wind. Did you hear that? I ask, turning to the others, my voice tense. Hear what? Manny replies, not looking up from his task. I squint across the endless white. I swear it was a voice, I mutter. Jude glances at me, skeptical. You're hearing things, man. There's nobody out here but us. I shake my head. Yeah, maybe. Forget it. But the sound lingers, soft and distant, just on the edge of perception. It's not clear, but it's there, tugging at me. All right, let's fish, Jude says, clapping me on the back as he hands me a rod. I try to focus, but my thoughts keep drifting to the sound. Was it the wind or something else? The sun creeps westward, and the unease follows me. I can't shake the feeling that something is watching from the tree line, but the others don't hear it, don't notice anything amiss. Maybe it's just me. The ice holds firm, a barrier between us and the dark water below. The air is still, broken only by the occasional creak of the ice and the faint whistle of the wind. Manny lets out a triumphant curse, reeling in a fish with ease, and Jude whoops as he lands his first catch. I manage a few, but my mind is elsewhere. The sun continues its descent, stretching shadows across the lake. Not bad, boys, Jude grins, holding up a decent-sized fish. We'll eat well tonight. Manny nods, adding another to the bucket. Yeah, think we've got enough to call it soon. I look up from my hole, fingers numb with cold, about to agree when I notice the sky shifting beyond the tree line. The pale winter blue has turned to a churning mass of gray, ominous clouds, swallowing the light as they advance. A strange hush falls over the lake. The wind dies, the air growing heavy, stagnant. You guys see that? I ask, my voice low, uncertain. Jude follows my gaze and whistles softly. Damn, that storm came out of nowhere. Manny frowns. We should pack up. No one argues. There's something unnatural about the cloud's movement, the way the light dims so quickly. We reel in our lines, gather the gear, and start loading the sleds. Snowflakes begin to fall soft, delicate at first, drifting lazily to the ice. Then the wind returns, a sudden gust howling across the lake like a wolf, kicking up powder and sending a chill down my spine. The sky darkens further, the storm front closing in fast, as if driven by something unseen. I don't like it, and neither do they. Let's move, Jude shouts over the wind. We pull on our helmets and rev the snowmobiles, the engines roaring against the gale. The ice vibrates faintly as we speed across the lake, racing the storm. The wind lashes at us, snow thickening, blurring the world into a haze of white, and Gray Manny's sled suddenly revs like a jet engine. Shit! I turn just in time to see his machine lurch violently, skis sinking into thick slush. It slows rapidly, wobbling as the front dips. He guns the throttle, but it's too late. The ice cracks beneath him, spiderwebbing outward. Water surges up, swallowing the sled's front end, pulling it under. Jump! Jude yells. Manny leaps from the sled as it vanishes into the icy abyss, hitting the ice with a thud, half submerged in freezing water. Hold on! I swerve my sled, sliding to a stop near the break. Jude is already off his machine, running toward Manny, who's clawing at the slick surface. The ice cracking further with every move, the water dragging him down like a predator. Grab my hand! Jude shouts, dropping to his stomach and reaching out. Manny's soaked glove slips against Jude's hand, his body shaking violently, breath coming in gasps. I lunge forward, grabbing Jude's jacket to anchor him as he stretches further. Got him! Jude grits out, straining as we haul Manny onto solid ice. Manny collapses, coughing, his face ashen, lips blue. We gotta go now, I say, my pulse pounding. Jude helps Manny to his feet, but he can barely stand, his clothes soaked, ice forming at the edges of his jacket. Hypothermia is setting in fast. I pull him onto my sled. Hold on, I say, but he only manages a weak nod, his body limp against mine. Jude revs his engine, and I follow, the snowmobiles roaring through the storm toward the outpost. The wind is merciless, visibility near zero, snow pelting us like needles. I lean forward, gripping the handlebars. Heart racing, I don't look back at the ice, at the crack that shouldn't have been there. Something tells me we shouldn't have been there. We reach the cabin, dragging Manny inside and slamming the door against the howling wind. Jude rushes to stoke the fire while I strip off Manny's drenched jacket, wrapping him in blankets. The fire crackles to life, warmth spreading through the cabin, but the storm rages on outside, the wind screaming like a wounded beast. Manny shivers violently, teeth chattering, but his eyes flutter open. You're all right, I tell him, though I'm not sure I believe it. Jude kneels beside him, shaking his head. Too close. Brumost had me jumping in after you. Manny tries to laugh, but it's weak, breathless. No, kidding. The wind shrieks against the walls. I glance at the window, my reflection staring back, but beyond the glass, something flickers between the trees. I tear my gaze away, jaw clenched. It's just an animal. We're safe. We made it back. That's what matters. But my gut tells me something isn't right, and I don't think the storm is the only thing out there. The world is cold, the chill seeping into my skin, sinking deep into my bones, a real, biting sensation I didn't feel before. The snow is solid beneath my boots now, not the weightless void of the first dream. My breath forms a thin mist, curling into the air, visible in the frigid stillness. The silence is the same, though an oppressive, suffocating void. I recognize this place. The trees tower around me, stretching impossibly high, shifting at the edges of my vision as if they're watching, listening. I turn slowly, scanning the darkness between the trunks. This time, the fear isn't as sharp, my thoughts clearer, because I hear her soft, distant, a whisper cutting through the stillness. Come find me. My throat tightens. I swallow, licking my lips. Isla? The name slips out, fragile and raw. The forest shifts, the trees stretching taller, closing in, but her voice persists, calling, guiding. I start walking, my steps crunching in the snow, the sound jarring against the silence, ringing in my ears. I don't know where I'm headed, but I feel compelled to move. The path is unfamiliar, yet the pull in my chest is the same. Shapes flicker between the trunks, glimpses of something moving just ahead, darting through the gaps in the trees. It's fast, too quick to track, but I know it's there. Always just out of reach, a figure dancing through the shadows, leading me. I push forward, calling her name again, louder this time. My breath mists in the thick, cold air. The trees begin to thin, the dark sky opening up, the world leaching color as the forest gives way to a field. Like before, it stretches endlessly, untouched snow beneath a sky so black it looks like a gaping wound. The horizon non-existent, just black and white, and the thing standing between them, the moose. It's here again, motionless, its massive head tilted back as if drinking from the void. Thick, wet strands hang from its antlers, trailing down in sluggish ribbons, dripping onto the snow-dark, pulsing material. This time I hear it, not the wind, not the creaking of trees, but the voice. Isla's voice coming from its mouth. I freeze. The moose doesn't see me yet, its breath escaping in slow, heavy clouds, curling into the air as it whispers in her voice. Come to me. My stomach twists, my hands trembling. I don't want to move, don't want to step into that field, but I do. The moment my boot touches the open snow, the voice stops. The moose lowers its head, its hollow, empty eyes finding mine. A jolt of ice shoots through me. It's the same feeling, the unnatural weight pressing against my chest. Something behind those depthless pits, not just watching, but knowing. We stare at each other. The only sound, my uneven, shallow breath. The moose is enormous, its shadow stretching long across the snow. Then it speaks again, softer, coaxing. Come to me. Its breath fogs as it speaks, steam curling from its mouth like smoke. I swallow hard, taking a cautious step forward, then another. The moose doesn't move. I whisper, Isla? It reacts, turning to face me fully, lowering its head, exhaling sharply a burst of white from its nostrils. It steps forward, slow and deliberate. Its antlers drip, its matted fur dark and slick with something rotten. The faint metallic stench hits me. I don't move. The moose lowers its head further, leveling its gaze with mine, stopping just a few feet away. I can see the wet glint in its empty sockets. Then, in the softest whisper in her voice, it speaks. I need you. I stop breathing. Silence stretches between us, taut and thin. The moose doesn't blink, doesn't move, just watches. Then, without warning, a wet, violent rip splits the air. Something hot and wrong splashes across the snow, steaming in the cold. I stumble back, breath catching, stomach clenching. The moose collapses, its body hitting the ground in a lifeless heap. Entrails spilling across the pristine white dark fluid seeping outward in slow tendrils. I recoil, the stench flooding my lungs, bile rising in my throat. I scramble backward. I wake with a gasp, the air in the cabin thick and heavy. My skin is clammy, my shirt damp with sweat, yet the cold bites at my arms. My breath comes in panicked bursts, heart slamming against my ribs, the nightmare's grip unrelenting. The field, the moose, Isla's voice, it lingers. Stronger now, a tangible pull pressing against my chest, calling me to the forest. I sit up, rubbing my arms, trying to shake the crawling unease. The fire in the stove is down to embers, the warmth fading. The storm outside rages, the wind howling through the trees. A rustling sound pulls my focus, Manny. I force myself to move, legs stiff, body sluggish. Jude is already awake, kneeling beside him. "How's he doing?" My voice is hoarse. Jude doesn't answer immediately, his face taut, eyes shadowed, exhaustion etched into his features. Manny's face is pale, his breath shallow, lips tinged blue. The blankets we wrapped him in seem futile against the deep cold gripping him. Jude runs a hand down his face, exhaling heavily. He's bad, man. Fever's high. Keeps mumbling in his sleep. I crouch beside them, pressing the back of my hand to Manny's forehead. He's burning up. The kind of fever that chills from the inside out. "We have to keep him warm," I say, voice tight. "More wood on the fire, he needs heat." Jude hesitates, then nods slowly, standing to grab logs from the pile near the stove. I adjust Manny's blankets, tucking them tighter, trying to ignore how his breathing sounds weaker than before. I tell myself he'll be okay, that he just needs time, but doubt creeps in, and through it all, the pull toward the forest doesn't fade. Hours pass, Manny doesn't improve, but he doesn't worsen, teetering on the edge, drifting in and out of fitful sleep, muttering nonsense. Jude and I check the supplies, rationing what little food we have left, the storm unrelenting, threatening to trap us here. At some point, I step outside, telling myself it's to clear my head, to breathe air not heavy with sickness and smoke, but I know it's more. The moment I step onto the porch, the freezing wind hits, and the pull tightens around my chest. The forest looms ahead, trees dark and reaching, the wind slicing against my skin. My breath mists, curling toward the tree line as if drawn there. I blink hard, dragging my gaze away. Then I see it. Blood, smeared across the snow in front of the cabin, deep red against the white. No footprints, no signs of an animal, just scattered drops leading toward the trees. My stomach clenches, the sight is too familiar. The moose, the feel, the dream. A gust of wind kicks up the snow, sending a shiver through me. I glance back at the door, my mind racing with excuse. Maybe it's from an animal we didn't hear, maybe it's nothing. But I know better. Because when I look at the trees again, something moves at the edge of my vision, watching, waiting. The storm has raged for days without pause, its relentless howl battering the cabin walls and rattling the windows. Beyond the glass, the world is a swirling void of white, an unending blur of snow and shadow. The drifts have piled high, swallowing the trees, shrinking the outside world into a claustrophobic haze. Inside, the air hangs heavy with the scent of smoke, sweat, and an unspoken weight that presses down on us all. Between the gusts of wind, the cabin is unnervingly silent, the space feeling tighter, the walls seeming to creep closer with each passing hour. Jude sits hunched near the fire, his arms wrapped around himself, the flames crackling against the oppressive quiet. Shadows dance jaggedly across the log walls, cast by the flickering light. His breathing is slow, uneven, a rhythm that sets me on edge. I step toward him, about to speak, when I notice it a scratch. It's a deep, angry red, a jagged line stretching down his ribs like claw marks, the surrounding skin inflamed and darkening as if it's been festering overnight. "Damn, man," I say, crouching beside him. "That looks bad." Jude blinks, his eyes flickering to my face, then down to his side. His expression remains blank, almost detached. "Oh, yeah," he mutters, shifting slightly. "Must have done it in my sleep." I stare at him, unease prickling at the back of my neck. Something feels wrong. "Does it hurt?" I ask. He pauses, the silence stretching too long, then shrugs. "Not really." I don't buy not the way he says it, not the look in his eyes. "Our food supplies are dwindling. We've rationed every can, every scrap of bread, counting each piece carefully, but it's never enough. No matter how much we eat, the hunger persists, a hollow ache in the gut that refuses to be filled. It's a deep, gnawing emptiness that lingers even after meals, as if our bodies can't hold on to sustenance." Jude doesn't mention it, but I see the way his hands clench into fists after eating, as if willing himself to feel full. Manny eats the least barely touching his share. Maybe that's why his condition keeps worsening. I step outside to clear my mind, the wind slicing through me, sharp and biting. Snow swirls across the porch in restless waves, and the pull in my chest tightens as I take a step forward. The forest, it doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels inviting. The trees shift subtly when I'm not looking, the spaces between them stretching and contracting as if the forest itself is breathing. Then I hear, "Come find me," her voice whispers, soft and teasing, carried on the wind. My stomach twists, my breath fogging in the frigid air. I take a step forward, my body moving on instinct, as if I'm meant to be there. A hand grips my shoulder. I flinch Jude. He stands behind me, his gaze fixed past me into the trees, his face pale and unreadable. "Going somewhere?" he asks, his voice low. I swallow, shaking off the trance. "Just getting some air," I say, forcing the words out. Jude doesn't blink. Then, slowly, a smirk creeps across his face. "Yeah," he murmurs. "Sure." I don't respond, turning back toward the cabin, forcing my legs to move away from the forest. The pull resists, a pressure against my spine, urging me forward, but Jude's eyes bore into the back of my neck as I step inside, shaking off the cold. When I glance back, he's still in the doorway, staring at the trees, lingering a moment too long before following me in. The fire crackles, but its warmth barely touches the creeping chill. The storm continues its assault, the wind a howling beast pressing against the cabin, as if trying to force its way inside. Jude sits by the fire, staring into the flames, unusually quiet today. Manny stirs faintly in his bunk, his breathing shallow, skin slick with sweat despite the icy air. We've wrapped him in blankets, but they do little to help. Nothing seems to help. I watch Jude from the corner of my eye. He's been drifting, zoning out more often. I'll speak, and he won't respond right away, sometimes blinking too slowly, as if returning from a distant place. His fingers twitch against his knee, a restless motion that sets me on edge. I think about the forest, about how it felt when I stepped outside, so safe, so welcoming. I shove the thought down. Jude shifts, his sweater lifting slightly, revealing the scratch on his ribs. The skin around it looks worse, infected, veins radiating from it like fractures in ice. "That's not good," I say, my voice low. He looks at me as if he forgot I was here, his eyes flicking to his side, then back up. "Oh," he says, pulling his sweater down with a shrug. "It's fine." "It doesn't look fine," I press. He doesn't answer, just stares at the fire, the flames reflecting in his pupils, stretching long across his face, hollowing out his features. He doesn't blink. "Jude," I say, sharper this time. He snaps out of it, blinking rapidly, rubbing his eyes. "Yeah," he mutters. "Tired." I nod, though I don't believe him, and decide to try to sleep. I wake in the dark, a low murmur pulling me from sleep, slithering through the stillness. I don't move. Just listen. The fire is nearly out, shadows stretching long across the walls, the embers pulsing faintly, casting a dull glow. Jude is speaking his voice, a soft, unnatural blend of sounds, too many at once, not English, not anything I recognize. I sit up slowly, my breath shallow, and see him sitting on his bunk, facing the wall. Lips moving as he mutters. "Jude?" I call softly. Silence. Then his head turns toward me, his face in shadow, but his eyes catch the firelight pupils dilated, lips curling into a slow, unsettling smile. We don't speak. The thud of my pulse loud in my ears. Finally, he closes his eyes and lies down. I don't sleep again. Morning arrives in a muted gray haze, the storm still unrelenting. The hunger gnaws deeper, each meal feeling smaller, the emptiness growing no matter how much I eat. I glance at Manius. Breathing is ragged, and he hasn't woken since last night. We need to leave. I look at Jude, waiting for his reaction. "We should pack up today," I say. "Get out before we're buried." He doesn't respond immediately, then nods. "Yeah." His flat agreement twists my stomach, but there's no argument. Something feels wrong about his calm acceptance. We gather the gear, Jude moving slowly, as if reluctant to leave. We haul everything onto the porch, the wind slamming into us like a wall. It's colder than before. The cold, not just a temperature, but a presence, seeping into my bones. I flex my fingers, trying to shake it off, while Jude watches from behind. I brush the snow off my sled, and turn the key. The engine whines, sputtering weakly. I try again. Nothing. Jude steps closer, his voice flat, distant. They're frozen. The cold probably drained the batteries. I clench my jaw. We can fix it, I say. But even as the words leave my mouth, I know it's futile. The cold isn't natural, it's creeping into everything. The air, the fuel, our lungs, the wind shrieks. We aren't getting out. I swallow hard, turning back toward the cabin. We need to keep the fire going, I say. We'll freeze without it. Jude nods, his expression unchanged. We load the fire, and it burns hotter. But the heat doesn't last. We go through the wood too quickly, the warmth fading as soon as it builds. The cold presses in, suffocating, soaking into the walls, the floor, our skin. Jude sits too close to the fire, hands outstretched, fingers stiff, staring into the flames without moving. Outside, the storm wails. Inside, he tilts his head slightly and speaks softly. We're not getting out, are we? His voice is too calm. I keep my eyes on the fire, saying nothing. He lets out a slow breath. There's no way out, he murmurs. I don't look at him, just feed another log into the fire. After what feels like an hour, I stand and declare we'll walk out. The wind tears at my face, cutting through every layer of clothing. The snow is thick, dragging at my boots, slowing each step. We have no choice, the sleds are dead, the food nearly gone. If we stay, we starve. I'd rather face the cold, even if it means freezing. Jude trudges ahead, shoulders hunched, breath misting in the air. I pull Manny behind me in a makeshift sleigh, his body limp beneath the blankets, silent for hours. Jude suddenly laughs, a sharp, broken sound, muffled by the storm. I glance at him. What's funny? He grins, teeth bared against the cold. There's no way out, he says. I ignore him, focusing on moving forward. We keep walking, the trees closing in, skeletal and black against the white. The storm doesn't relent, the world shrinking around us. Jude snaps at me, his voice cutting through the wind. This is pointless. You know that, right? I grit my teeth. Shut up and keep moving, he chuckles, shaking his head, but doesn't slow down, his words persisting. You don't get it, do you? I don't answer. The cold is worsening. We walk for hours, or maybe just minutes. Time loses meaning out here, just the wind, the snow, the endless white. Then, through the haze, a shape emerges, a building. Relief surges through me until my stomach drops. It's the cabin. We're back. I stare at it, pulse pounding. No, I mutter, turning in a slow circle, searching for our tracks. They should be behind us, leading back to where we started. There's nothing, the snow untouched. Jude sighs, a long, breathy sound, and laughs. I whip around, growling. What the fuck is wrong with you? He smirks, shrugging. Told you. We try again. This time I keep my eyes on the trees, searching for landmarks, but everything looks the same. Jude starts humming under his breath, the sound grating on my nerves. Would you stop that? I snap. He tilts his head, mockingly innocent. What? The humming, the talking, the whatever this is. I say, my voice sharp. He just grins, a grin I'm growing to hate. We keep going, through the trees, through the storm, and then the cabin appears again. My stomach churns. This isn't possible. I drop the sled, grab Jude by his jacket, and shove him. What did you do? How the fuck are we back here? He laughs softly. I shove harder. Answer me. His smile falters slightly, his eyes darkening. The fire in my gut fades, and I let go. We have to go inside, I say, voice hollow. We're freezing. Jude doesn't argue. The fire inside is weak, the cabin colder than before. I pull Manny from the sleigh, dragging him to the bunk, tucking the blankets around him. I shake his shoulder gently. "Hey," I whisper, "we're inside now. We'll get warm, okay?" He doesn't respond. A sinking feeling claws at my stomach. I press my fingers to his throat, waiting no pulse. The air leaves my lungs. Manny is dead. The ground is frozen, solid, unyielding beneath my shovel, and digging any deeper feels like an impossible task. My hands are raw, fingers throbbing with cold and effort, but I keep piling snow over Manny's body. Jude stands beside me, his silence heavy, unbroken. We don't offer a prayer. Don't speak at all, there's nothing left to say. The wind screams through the trees as we turn back to the cabin, our footprints vanishing in the snow within moments. Manny is gone, but the hunger remains, a relentless void in my gut. I can't understand how we ran out of food so quickly. We planned carefully, rationed every bite, counted every can and scrap of bread. Yet the shelves are bare now, the emptiness mocking our efforts. My stomach is a gnawing pit, the ache persisting no matter how much I eat. A hollow feeling that refuses to fade. Jude sits by the fire, his face unreadable, hands resting on his knees. His fingernails are black, a detail I notice only after staring too long, forcing my gaze away. The cold has seeped into me, into us both, settling beneath my skin, dragging me down into a heavy, suffocating fog. Jude exhales slowly, the sound cutting through the quiet. "We're out of options," he says, his voice steady, too steady. I know what he's about to suggest, and I shake my head before he can finish. "No way," I say, my voice firm, despite the exhaustion weighing me down. Jude looks up, his expression eerily calm. "What else can we do?" he asks. "We'll die." I clench my jaw, the room spinning slightly, my limbs heavy, thoughts sluggish from hunger. He watches me closely, his gaze unnerving. I stand, trying to shake off the daze, and move to the door, cracking it open. The wind rushes in, tugging at my clothes, and the trees sway in the distance, the forest whispering. "Do it." Her voice slides through me, soft and coaxing, a whisper on the wind. I squeeze my eyes shut, fighting the pull. "You have to. You need to." I step back, slamming the door shut. Jude raises an eyebrow. "Something wrong?" I swallow the bile rising in my throat. Manny wouldn't want this. I shake my head, turning away. "I'm going to sleep," I mutter, retreating to my bunk. The dream returns, but this time, the moose is absent. The forest is the same black silhouettes against endless white, the snow firm beneath my feet, the sky a deep, consuming void. My finger aches, and I see a drop of blood fall from the infected prick, staining the snow. I'm not alone. Something watches me, a tall, thin figure between the trees, moving unnaturally with each blink, as if stepping through gaps in reality. Then I see it, the moose's skull, its antlers intact, empty sockets stretching into endless black. It speaks in Isla's voice. "Come to me." I stumble back, breath thick in my throat. The figure tilts its head. "You're so hungry," it says, its tone soft, comforting. "You know what you have to do." I turn and run, hearing a shifting, crawling sound behind me, like something moving through the cracks of the world. The trees twist, stretch, rearrange. I can't escape. The voice grows closer. "Come back to me." I trip, the ground giving way beneath me, and I fall, plummeting into darkness. I wake to a strange, Noise lurping, chewing, a wet, sickening crunch. My breath catches, the smell hitting me, familiar and vile, like the moose carcass from the dream. I sit up slowly, heart pounding, hands trembling as I reach for the door and nudge it open. The fire's dim light flickers across the walls, shadows stretching long and distorted. Jude is hunched over something Manny's body, flesh torn open, raw blood smeared across the wooden floor. His fingers are blackened, elongated, trembling, his breathing ragged and unnatural. His shoulders heave, a deep, wet sound escaping his throat. His nails are longer, sharper, his cheeks sunken, as if something else is wearing his skin. I clamp a hand over my mouth to stifle a gasp. Jude stops chewing. The air in my lungs freezes. He remains still, hunched over Manny's corpse, hands twitching, blood thick and dark on his mouth. Slowly, he turns his head, his eyes meeting mine deep, hollow, inhuman. His lips quiver, then stretch into a grin, unnaturally wide. In a harsh voice, he says, "She needs you." The words shatter something inside me. I stumble back, the door creaking under my grip, betraying my presence. Jude lunges. I react on instinct, grabbing a log from the firewood stack and swinging it. It connects with his shoulder, but he barely flinches, moving faster than should be possible. I turn and run, the wind hitting me like a wall as I burst outside. The storm has swallowed everything, snow driving into my face, sharp and blinding. I keep running, lungs burning, legs numb from the cold, not daring to stop. Behind me, laughter high, sharp, slipping between tones. Jude's voice, but not his, not anymore. He calls my name, but I don't look back. I push forward, the cold searing my throat, my vision blurred by snow. I fall, the ground shifting beneath me, sending me crashing forward. My hands dig into the ice, scrambling for traction, but it's too late. Cold hands wrap around my throat. I gasp, breath stolen, vision tunneling. Jude's face looms above me, grinning, pupils swallowed by darkness, nails digging into my skin. I thrash, choking, fighting, but his strength is overwhelming. His mouth opens, and in a chilling blend of his and Isla's voices, he screams, "Come back to me!" A gunshot splits the night. Through the storm, silhouettes emerge, another shot cracking the air. Jude screams, a sound not human, his body contorting unnaturally. His eyes snap toward the figures, and for the first time I see fear in them. He moves, not running, not walking, but a flickering blur, folding into the storm and vanishing into the trees. The wind howls in his absence. I collapse, body shaking violently, breath coming in ragged gasps. The shadows step closer, and a rough, low voice cuts through the haze. He's alive. Then everything fades to black. The hospital is warm. The heat seeps into my skin but never reaches my bones. The cold is still inside me, coiled deep, settled where it can't be touched. I answer their questions over and over, but they don't believe. No bodies were found. The words hit like a truck. The search team found nothing. No outpost, no cabin, no tracks, like it was never there. Like we were never there. You were suffering from extreme hypothermia and starvation. They say I was hallucinating, that my mind was breaking down, that it is common in these conditions. They say there was no one else. I was alone the whole time. Just me, a half-frozen man found raving in the snow. lucky to be alive. I try to argue, but how do you explain something like this? How do you tell people the truth when the truth sounds like madness, when you aren't even sure yourself? Because sometimes I wonder, maybe they're right. Maybe I imagined all of it. The locals say nothing, but the way they watch me, they know. Eventually I'm sent home, back to my empty house, back to the silence, back to the cold that never leaves. It's quiet inside. The wind howls outside, pressing against the windows, rattling the walls. The blizzard has returned, thick and endless, swallowing the world beyond the glass. But inside the air is still. I sit at the kitchen table, staring at the windowsill. They shouldn't be here. Before I left, before everything, they were wilting, fragile, fading with her absence. But now they bloom, deep, rich red. The petals are full, soft, alive. Their scent fills the room, sweet and overpowering, cloying like a memory that won't let go. My finger twitch. The hunger coils in my stomach, gnawing, insatiable. I am always cold. My hands are numb, the tips of my fingers blackening further. The wind whispers, "Come." My breath catches, and my heart slows. I look toward the window, and I see it. It stands at the tree line, nearly invisible, its elongated body shifting between the trees, blending with the night. The moose's skull tilts slightly, the blackened socket sucking in the dark, waiting. I know I shouldn't move, but my body betrays me. I stand, moving toward the door. My fingers brush the doorknob, and for one last moment, I hesitate. Then I step outside. The instant my foot touches the snow, the world unravels. My childhood home, the house I created a family in, gone. The trees behind me, the driveway, the road, all erased. I turn, but there is nothing left. The house never existed. The world is changing. A single scarlet rose sprouts through the snow, pushing its way to the surface and freeing itself in the cold air. Then another shoots up, and another, and within moments, hundreds and thousands of scarlet roses cover the snowy fields. They burst through the snow in waves, an endless field of deep red. The trees seem to reverse their growth, the trunks shrinking, the branches curling inward, then spiraling down into saplings, sprouts, then seeds, then nothing at all. There is only white, only roses, only the creature. It does not move. It stands perfectly still, waiting. Its presence is no longer horrifying, but rather comforting. It is familiar. I walk toward it, my feet sinking into the snow and roses. My limbs are weak, but my heart is steady. The air is heavy with its scent, her scent. The creature's skull tilts down, watching. A cold hand brushes against my own, not bone or claw. Something human. I look into the empty void where her eyes should be. My voice is soft, almost reverent, and I whisper, "Finally, I found you, my love."